With the disrespect, Mecca, that you're showing Bel Jolie at this point, I'm gonna say you're about on 1,000. And actually, since you like percentages, right? Let me say it's giving you're about at 180 to her zero, because she has shown you nothing but the utmost respect, even when she shouldn't have. And also, let me find out that you over there vibing with somebody else in the group.
Like it's delirium, ay, ay, like it's delirium, ay, I got delirium, ay, like it's delirium, yeah, yeah, like it's delirium. She just wanna bounce to it, baby, get your giddy on. Walk up to the stage with a drink like I'm Giveon, but I never came here to sing what I'm really on.
What's going on, y'all? It's your girl Tayi to be here, and welcome to my chat party. If you're here to join me for a little bit, a lot of it, bash me early, bash me late. They're my little thoughts, my little views, my little opinions on Married at First Sight, season 20, episode number 17, Breakthroughs and Betrayals. Then I thank you so much. I appreciate you so much from the bottom of my heart. To those of you who hopefully and potentially subscribed and all of that, and liked and watched and did your two-step on the dance floor in the last video, thank you so much. Salute and salute to you. I have not checked anything out yet, but I promise I'm going to do it today. Yeah, it was just a late night for me last night, and I was surprised I was even able to get it up. So I will get to those comments and check those out. I'm excited to see them. And for those of you who maybe will subscribe in the future, thank you. Who will check out the video in the future, thank you. And all my VIP party people who have just been here, riding the waves, riding the beat, thank you so much. I really appreciate y'all, because listen, you could be so many other places, and you probably are, but at least I'm one of them. Okay, so thank you. But y'all, let's go ahead and do this doggone thing, because if I ain't got stuff to say, then I don't know what I've got to say. Oh, the way I was 7:30 hot by the end of this episode. But we start off with Felipe, how it ended, being consoled by the guys because he's just so sad. Too sad that Tori broke up with him. Again, y'all, there's something about that word that was just so juvenile to me in that moment. Like, no, that was not a breakup. What are you talking about? Anyways, like she deaded your marriage. She ended the marriage. Okay, it's null and void at this point, which it's not. But anyway, so he still doesn't get it in that moment, and I'm like, again, what is there really to talk about? The girls end up going to check on Tori. They have a fun moment, couple of laughs, and letting her know that she's not cooped out and crazy for how she's feeling. And I will say, throughout this process, I can honestly respect how Tori has communicated with Felipe. I think she's been patient in her communication. I think that she's been calm in her communication. I think she's been concise and very clear and easy to follow in her communication. So therefore, I'm not sure what steps he's missing and why he's missing what she's been putting down, but somehow he has been. And even though she says at some point in the episode, and maybe she said it to the girls, I can't remember by now, y'all, because I watched the episode yesterday. Maybe she did let them know at that point or at some point that her communication, or she feels like they don't have communication, that's good, but they do. Well, she does. Again, like I said, her way of executing works for me. But anyways, I loved in that moment how Marissa was like, listen, girl, you are Beyonce. And at the end of the day, somehow Felipe thinks he's Beyonce as well. I got a nice chuckle out of that. So there's a power struggle there for who's the baddest. Okay, I guess. But whatever the case, the boys, now again talking to Felipe, are trying to downplay the game and how things went and how they kept calling him out on everything. And honestly, I don't think they did anything wrong. It is what it is. No one told him to sit up there and have a fun fest with all these negative things that were being thrown his way. It's the way that he received that, right? As the saying goes, we're not accountable for how people respond to us, but how we respond to people, how we respond to situations and things. And that's actually not the saying, but I just made that up on the spot. So let's keep it moving. Sidebar. I meant to say this to y'all in the last video because I noticed it the last episode. But I said, Mecca, oh Mecca, if you're going to wear this black polish on your nails, and yes, y'all, I'm back on it just right quick though. Can you at least keep the manicures fresh? Like, because if we think about it, now maybe something happened in between there where he did get a fresh manicure and it's like just chipped and jacked up all over again. But I'm thinking this hasn't been done and refreshened since your honeymoon. And it's like, if you want to do it the right way. People see your hands, like, come on. It's not your toes. And that's another thing I said. Did this mug have it on his toes too? And did. I was just, it's too much. It's giving too much for me. That might be y'all thing, but I've got to be honest with y'all. I just can't deal with it. But here's the thing, because I have to deal with it, keep it fresh, my guy. Like point blank into the period. Set up that next appointment and go ahead and get that done. All right. It can't be more than a good solid $35, right? If you're doing a gel, okay? Because you're getting a basic manicure, just get it done and let's just keep them looking better than what they've been looking. I mean, my gosh, they are such a distraction, but I've said that before, had to say it again. Let's move on. Caitlyn comes to try to school Felipe on what he did wrong. Sean does the same thing to help him to understand. Listen, there's a we in this situation, not just him. So his goal is to protect the we. But seems to me Felipe still doesn't get it. And he says he's not compatible with someone who can't give him a little fucking grace. I said, oh, really? Is that so? She doesn't give you grace? And let's even rewind, right? Because was it last episodes or one of the episodes prior where they were kind of laid up talking and he was kind of coming at her low key for not stepping up more for him and having his back in situations? I'm like, oh, the way she be sitting there on chill, that's considered having your back, because she should rip and ream you a new one and embarrass you in front of everybody the same way you be embarrassing her. So be grateful that she hasn't done that. All right. So I'm just like, I like, how many times has she shown you grace, dude? Grace showed up in those moments, like I just mentioned. Grace showed up when you sat there and said you didn't realize that marriage was a daily commitment. Like you didn't really know what you were in. That's when grace showed up. Grace showed up when you sat up there and made it known to her for the first time in front of all those people. On top of that, that you just love sleeping with a bunch of women and sleeping with other women. Okay. Grace showed up when you sat there and told her that, you're an avoidant and you get bored, and when the passion's gone, you be peacing out. Grace showed up when she was sitting there telling you that you're not even attentive to her needs anymore. You sitting there like a deer in headlights talking about some, oh, well, that is true. Thanks for telling me that. Grace showed up for the fact that she's still there with your dumb ass, okay? So I don't want to hear nothing about grace, Felipe. Like that's what I'm saying. When I got to explain these kind of things to you, this ain't gonna work. But okay, let's move on. Caitlyn, oh Caitlyn. Then I said, because like I said, Caitlyn's sitting there too, try to give her little 2 cents. And I said, the same way you're going hard to defend Tori in this right here, please go take that same energy and defend your own husband and your own marriage. Okay. But, anyways, meanwhile, other side, we have Devin and Nikki who are catching up. We already know Devin's story and how he feels. His wife ain't trying, ain't gonna try. That's it. That's all. He was hoping they'd be able to find that connection while they were on the retreat, and it's not looking too promising, which is no shock. Let's move on. So Caitlyn's now doing a diary cam scene while Devin's in the shower, and she's saying how she's been giving him all these cues throughout the day, the night, whatever, to let him know that it's pretty much go time, and how he's not picking that up. And it's almost like she has a level of frustration with that. It feels like he's avoiding it. She's like, yeah, and I did that. And so instead of kind of, I guess, leaning into it, he went and got into a shower. I think she said, and went and made some food. Like it's almost like he's avoiding it. And her thing is like, well, what are you running from? What are you afraid of? And I'm like, girl, no, maybe it's not that. Maybe he's to a point where he changed his mind. Maybe he's like, I'm over this shit. I ain't interested, not a little bit, not all. I don't want nothing from her. Like, I'd rather go get me a nice hot plate of food than a hot plate of, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not interested. Maybe that's where his mind is. Maybe he's sick of you. Maybe you rubbed him the wrong way in the moment, like you always do. And then my thing too, on top of that, and okay, we'll get into that later, right? Because I don't. Okay, no, let's get into that now. Because you're sitting here talking about you gave him cues. The one of the cues I remember is her walking up to him and going like this, a little scratch on his chest. So this is supposed to let me know that it's go time and that it's show time, and it's time to get up in between those sheets. Like what? That's supposed to be, that's as good as me going up to you and being like, and squeezing your cheek. Like, that doesn't tell me anything. Like, what are you saying here, girl? Again, goes back to, I'll say it again, that level of immaturity that I feel like she possesses when it comes to relationships and not really knowing how to carry those things through and show up in the way that she should. Because, girl, that's not doing anything. How about you tell him to meet you upstairs in the bedroom? Even saying that line gets it popping. And then when he gets up in there, tell him to come up in 10 minutes and have that thing ready to go, laid out, lingerie, all of that. How about that? How about whispering a little something in his ear to make him tingle a bit? Even that, like, but this, and I think she says she touched his leg. Girl, going to get up out of here. Anyway, she asked, like I said, all these things about him in the diary cam if he's afraid. Da, 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 da. Anyways, girl, let's move on. So we will say though that she does end this diary cam in true Caitlyn fashion by placing the blame then on him. I'm like, God, do you ever do anything wrong? I guess that's a no. Caitlyn shares with Michelle, because I think it's the next day that or she shares with Michelle and Cam that her and Devin were bickering the night before. Cam's like, yeah, we already knew. We heard it. Like, you know what I'm saying? We thought we should get out the bed and be like, like, you kind of like, what's going on? And I'm not even going to hold you, because if I was in that same position, I'd be over there too. Like, what is going on? I might have got up and put my ear to the wall and tried to ear hustle or peek my head about the bedroom door. Like, is everybody all right? Like, what is happening? And so in that, she mentions having her needs, right? Like, I guess in essence to say her needs aren't being met. Again, I'm like, this woman is just so selfish. It's like, for the fact that we got to see Courtney leave, now part two is taking over. And no, maybe she's not as insufferable as Courtney was, but my God, like, she is too much for me. She's still like a, talk about a ick. Girl, you give me the ick. And I'm just tired of it. And anyway, Michelle ends up exposing Mecca's comment about wanting Bel Jolie to have bigger breasts, which is totally out of order, right? We knew that. Like, what? I'm dreading the moment, though, in that moment when Bel Jolie is going to have to hear this. Like, I'm nervous for her. But let's move on until we get there. So Mecca and Bel Jolie go wine tasting. And when I tell y'all, some of these folks wear a good game face because it sure enough couldn't have been me. Now, granted, she doesn't know about the breast situation yet, but she's still harping and marinating on that, him, being on some, oh, were your looks good enough for me? Wine tasting where with who? I would have been wine tasting by myself, or I could have gone wine tasting with the girls, or maybe it could have been a group situation, but just me and him. I don't want to wine taste with you, because now wine tasting is about to be wrong, because I'm supposed to sit up here and smile through the fact that you keep reminding me how you're not really attracted to me for real at the end of the day. Like, what are we doing here? Anyway, she shares that she told the girls about his comment yet again, because like I said, this ain't the first time. And I'm like, how many times we got to talk about this girl's looks? But anyways, she explained to them in his defense, like she always defends, everyone's not always going to be a 10 to everyone. And she doesn't want them to look at Mecca any differently. I said, Belle Jolie, Belle Jolie, you're exhausting me, honey. You're sending me, you're tiring me out. You are wearing me thin. Okay? Because sometimes we cannot defend the undefendable. We just can't. And it was very telling to me when he then even said himself, y'all, out of his own mouth to her, that girl loved to protect her man. I said, oh, we're done. Like, cut the cameras. Like, what else is there to say? Like, even when he's hip to your game, and even he's like, damn, even you defend me too much. Because that to me was kind of what he's saying. Like, just enough is enough at this point, Belle. Like, pay attention. And she gives him too much grace, since we're going to be on the subject of grace. And I understand that she wants to approach him differently than how he's used to being handled and be the healing that he needs. But and however, this ain't that. That's the only problem, Belle. This ain't that. Wait till you hear what he said about your breast, okay? And now I can see why you feel and this is my thought when it came to Mecca. I can see why he feels like he's not deserving of certain things. And I said, because he's not. And some of y'all may chip away at me on this one, but it's honest. And I'm not speaking to the fact of if he really, and I definitely think he has some deep rooted things that he's been through and that have happened to him, right? That have affected him. I will say that. But aside from that, talking on the level of relationships and how he shows up, and the fact that he throws in with his bad, or with his behaviors, bad behavior, behavior that is unacceptable, behavior that is disrespectful. So no one's going to feel sorry for that portion of things. Like, you get what I mean? Like, we can pacify you and hug you a little bit on the things you've been through, but for you to now show up like an ass, no, we can't do that. A lot of us have been through things and we don't show up that way. So for the fact that you now feel like this gives you right to then make comments the way that you've been making about this woman behind her back and to her face, and then we're supposed to sit up here and be like, oh, but it's okay though, because you're going to be in trouble for it, and we just need to stroke that and say it's going to be all right. No, we're not going to do that. No, no, you are someone who's not deserving of this right now because you don't know how to handle it. You need to go and seek some help and get some true counseling and therapy for yourself. That's what you need to do. But anyways, I should have known I spoke too soon when it came to Felipe and Tori and her being done with him, because they end up having a talk and he claims he understands Tori wanted him to see her. And I said, no, you don't. You don't understand nothing. You were force fed this information to understand. Because even when Sean and Caitlyn were talking to you, you still sat there and understood. You didn't know like what they were, you didn't get it. You still didn't understand what they were saying and the points that they were making. Like, anyways, and he also gives some sob story about some type of PTSD with relationships he had. Another, I don't know, didn't care, whatever it was. I said, Tori, you still in danger, girl. That's it. That's all the end of the day. Even though you wanted to give her a try, because my question is, all those major issues that require work on his behalf have been worked on that fast in the matter of these days or week? I don't think so. The build a boy that you called out has just been built into a man that fast? I don't think so. Good luck, girl. Because don't forget, like I said, there's these things on the table that you just even were talking about driving there when you were stuck on the side of the highway, that you thought about, like the fact that he can't even show up to represent you as a man should or would. That's all. No, like that's gone. Okay, girl. If you say so. But most importantly, the fact that when the passion's gone, he gets gone, and he loves Lee. Okay. All right, let's move on. So we see a quick scene with Sean, who's cross country for a family party. He's on a FaceTime with Nikki. They have a quick little conversation. He lets us know that he misses her. Caitlyn and Devon. So now they're kind of sitting outside chilling. I'm like, with them talking, tell me anything different that they said. Same merry-go-round. He says he doesn't like to be shut down because apparently they had a conversation where she was shutting him down. I'm like, dude, you've been going through this, and isn't into toxic communication. Meanwhile, she's looking to the side just as disinterested as she wants to be. I'm telling you, she's like, yeah, okay, yeah. So I wonder if that chicken salad's still in the fridge. I probably could eat that. That would be good for lunch. I wonder what Courtney's doing. I probably need to text her. Yeah, okay. Probably need to text her. I'll text her once he's done talking. Like, so disinterested. What are guys, why am I getting okay? Let me bring this down. Let us move on. I have nothing more to say besides it's not going to work, which we find out clearly it didn't end up working. And Caitlyn is just confusing. He's telling the guys this at this point, a certain point later on. He said it's best. Excuse me. He said it best when he said that she's giving mixed signals, like the red light, ready light, and green light are all on at the same damn time. I said, but dude, at the end of the day, one of them colors is flashing through pretty potently and pretty vividly, and that's going to be the red. And allegedly, there's supposed to be fireworks between them for the night. And I'm like, I highly doubt that. The girls are getting ready. Nikki, Bel Jolie, and Michelle are talking. And Michelle finally breaks the bad news. And I'm sitting there, y'all, my heart was pumping a little bit. I'm like, oh gosh, no, okay. And I feel like people are probably going to say Michelle was being messy, and maybe not. This could have been a random thought I pulled from nowhere, but it was what I was feeling in that moment. And I said, and if they do feel that way, I just don't agree. I feel like for what they're building in terms of friendships and relationships with one another, she definitely did the right thing because I would want to know as opposed to not know. And you continue to smile in my face and call yourself a good friend to me. Even if you ask me not to say anything, I won't say anything and I'll respect that, but I still need to know. So I am down with the fact that she lets Bel Jolie know what is happening. So Bel Jolie is not walking around with egg on her face in the dark looking crazy. And so we go ahead and get into the conversation about the breast. Bel Jolie thinks it's childish and it's rude, but and y'all know I was here for this next part. Y'all know I was here for this phrase that came out of her mouth when her said, if we're going to be honest, I ain't asked for a man who painted his fucking nails. I said, come on. I mean, and I ain't asked for a man to be put on camera for me to have to view that and see that. So I can only imagine what that's giving in person, real time. This is my husband that I got to deal with, and this is one of the things that he rocks with. Whoa, that I've got to compromise on. Yikes! Like, girl, was here for it, loved it. It was giving. I don't even want to do the clocket thing. What's the other thing that the people be doing? Is it that? Is snap the fingers when you're with poetry? You know, we gonna speak to that crowd of folks, okay? Like snap the fingers. Okay. She says something right there. So Nikki shares Sean's comment about how look her looks. And we know the whole, in Seattle she gives a 10, but in New York she would give a 7. And Michelle was like, well, what does he think he is? I said, girl, come on through with the questions. Hilarious, right? Nikki said he thinks he's a 10. And Michelle said, shut the up, which is the same response that I would have given. I would have fallen out if I was there because they were giving all that energy for me. Like, okay, we are all the way confused on this one. Like, he's got some nerve and some audacity and all of that. And Nikki's wondering, she's kind of saying in her side interview if she's going to have to cater to him in order for him to be a kind husband. I said no, because that's not how it works. You shouldn't have to do that. That should be an automatic, innate thing within him to do. So no, like that's ridiculous to even say that you have to do that for him to show you some kindness. Like, get out of here. Absolutely not. And like I said, when you have things like that, that's when you know it's time to boogie and dip out because all this work that these people are having to put in, yes, I understand, right? Because in one regard, these are folks that they've never met before, and you're trying to get to know the person. But as I've also mentioned, but and however, these terms and conditions that some of these folks are traveling along with or putting out on the table, they're a no-go. Like, you can't do nothing with this stuff. No matter how hard you try. And even if it's cute for a little bit, that stuff is still going to resurface if y'all don't do some serious deep diving and therapeutic work, even outside of this TV show with it. Ain't gonna happen. And so Michelle in her side interview, she makes some great points. She said the ladies are dealing with little boys, not men. Whole fact. And she also said she just kind of wants to shake Tori and Felipe. It's Felipe. She wants to shake Tori and Bel Jolie and Nikki when it comes to these relationships. And I feel what she's saying because it's hard to sit back and watch people in absolute train wrecks and dumpster fires when it comes to their relationships. And you know it ain't good and it's not presenting good. And it's like, yeah, they want to keep trying. And it's like, girl, I get it. You know, try once, try twice, maybe I guess try 3 times. But it's like this stuff, like I said, is just it's no good. You're not giving anything good to work with. So what is there to try other than keeping yourself sane until decision day reaches? And even then, I would have been out, y'all. I am sorry. Maybe call me a quitter. I mean, I'm okay with it. Like, I'm not going to subject myself to this BS day in and day out. You know, I've developed some friendships that's cool. I'll catch y'all on the flip side. I'll catch y'all at the reunion. We can text when the cameras are down. You can call me if you still need a vent, but I'm leaving. I'm out of here. I'm not subjecting myself to all this nonsense that keeps taking place. But, anyways, let me move on. I'm saying too much of nothing, but I'm just so annoyed. So, they're all now at dinner. Michelle lets Mecca know out in front of everyone that, for lack of better words, he has something good in front of him. He needs to start showing her more respect. I'm glad she did that. Got a little nervous because I thought she was going to go all the way there and then present the whole breast thing. And I was like, you know, Hopefully not, because Michelle, that is not your place. But she didn't. So Nikki then shares how she's actually feeling Sean now, right? And things are looking good, picking up. But then Belle Jolie inserts herself hard and she says, well, it's a hell no, in her opinion, when it comes to Nikki and Sean's situation, for what she really, in my opinion, because now she's attacking their situation now. It's like she's projecting, and she's like in projection mode for what she's really feeling about Mecca, right? Even though it's speaking to Nikki and Sean's situation. And she's saying, when it comes to someone insecure, feeling like they should be humbling their partner, like it's a no go. And that energy was so left field that you were like, oh yeah, like I think anybody could tell. And even Mecca picked up on that, right? And so Michelle and Nikki end up going into it for a little bit, or getting into it, and I understand Nikki's point, because it's like now Michelle wants to insert herself about what's real, what's not when it comes to Sean and Nikki. And I think the thing is, right, because they are all there to help each other and they are all there to give opinions. But like Nikki was saying, you don't know what people have going on at the end of the day. And everybody comes from different vantage points when it comes to their situations. Everybody's have to turn different leaves at different points. And these are my words, but still the same point that Nikki was trying to make. So it's like everybody moves at different paces. Everybody's been doing their own thing. Everybody's had to work through situations in their own regard, different types, different ways, whatever. So don't come over here with that. In other words, and I get it. And I think, to me, that just boils down to the fact that Nikki's just tired of Michelle and Cam, but we'll go particularly with Michelle, on their high horse, right? On their high and mighty, because they're doing so well, always inserting what they think and feel, and feeling like their word is bond on what they're saying when it's not. Now, they make some great points, don't get me wrong, but here's the people don't want to keep hearing that. People don't want you to keep coming at them. The girl just said, the lady, excuse me, the woman just said that her and Sean are doing well. Leave it at that. Just be like, okay, well, good for y'all. I hope it continues, but to bring it and drag it into negative, like, I get why Nikki would be frustrated. And two is, I feel like it's the fact that Nikki sat on that more than enough without really going in or having to say anything, and she just kind of hit her breaking point. So wasn't mad at Nikki in that moment, but ding 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 ding, because on the side, while talking to Caitlyn, Mecca has concluded that seems to him, when Bel Jolie was coming at Nikki, that all that seemed like it was intended for him, and was, sir. I said, oh, look at you. I said, good job, Mecca, because that thinking cap was on, buddy, wasn't it? And he pulls Bel Jolie to the side. They go upstairs. She keeps it surface level to let him know she know what he said. Because Michelle told her, and he was like, what Michelle said. I'm like, we're not playing that game. And I'm glad she kind of chimed in, like, we're not doing this either. You know what she said, because you know what you said. All right. And so he um thinking since, or telling her he's thinking since he was talking to the boys, that he didn't think it would get back to her. Not sure why, because I believe, even as I mentioned in my last video, the cameras were there and popping right in your face. I don't know, again, if it's a thing. I've heard reality people say before that sometimes they forget the cameras are there. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit too paranoid that I would know that they're there all the time. And maybe not. Listen, I've never been on TV. I don't know. But I'm like, how could you not? Things are big enough. Like, I just, maybe not. Or, somebody's close. Okay. Anyways, the point is, you shouldn't have said it. That's something that you should have kept to yourself. Or if you really needed to have a vent session with your boys, wait till the cameras are down and it's just y'all. Now, at the end of the day, would I trust that it still wouldn't get back to Belle? I wouldn't, because people talk. You got Cam around. Cam is going to talk to his woman, clearly, and his woman is going to talk to Belle. So I guess. Anyway, so she says in her side interview, he's on thin ice. And outside of this process, she wouldn't put up with half the stuff she's been putting up with now. I said, well, then would the real Bel Jolie please stand up? Because what are we doing, babes? As the young people, what are we doing, babes? Like, because this is not working. Why do you feel like you need to, as Paul and them said early on, why you need to dim your light in the manner in which you're dimming it? Compromise and dimming yourself, in my opinion, are two totally different things. All right. And I feel like you keep making excuses, poor excuses, for this man's poor behavior. And this is not feeding your spirit and your soul in the way that it needs to. So why is this okay to you? Why was it okay for you to fall back because you're married? And I think that's the thing, right? People ride the notion and the wave of the fact that, oh, well, because I'm married, it's more serious and you want to put more effort in it. And yeah, to a degree and to an extent. But marriage doesn't mean that you should be stomped all over emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever, mentally, for someone else's gain or build up or anything. Even if somebody's insecure within themselves, even just to be a part of someone else's misery, you don't need that. So I just don't understand why the need to fall back. Like, you know what I mean? I get at first maybe she kind of wanted to give him some room, a little period of kind of getting himself together, but this has been an ongoing thing. So it's like we need to put a stop to this like ASAP. But anyways, I still feel like at the end of the day, it goes back to the fact that she really wants to be the one to change his whole life. And I don't know if that's going to happen, Bel Jolie, because he's not in that position where he's willing for that to open, where he's truly receiving of that, because you're not even his type of woman. And that's it. That's all. So he can't get past that in his mind. And so she begins to cry. And I feel bad for her, but not too bad. Not too bad. Cause I'm like, girl, like it's been, like you've had some reoccurrences here. So you've got to do your thing. You've got to look out for you because he's certainly not going to do it, especially not in the way that you've been looking out for him. So, anyways, they go downstairs, they join in on the game that everyone's playing. And I said, do we talk about the question that Bel Jolie reads about their match being a mistake, or if their match was a mistake, who they think their matches should be or would be? And then us getting around to Mecca and him saying his matches would be Michelle and Caitlyn. I said, oh, wait a minute now, because I feel two ways about that. I feel two ways. First of all, why are you picking anyone? To me, that should have been a trick question, my guy. Your response would have been like, oh, no, I'm good. Like, oh, I know I'd pick. I'd pick Bel Jolie and Bel Jolie, period. Or I ain't picking nothing because ain't nobody else here I would pick other than Bel Jolie. Or I'm simply not answering that. That's ridiculous. Like you couldn't even have sense enough to play that off. You definitely picked your people, and one of them you're low key feeling at the end of the day, in my opinion. But also to that, my second point is now also knowing kind of what your type is. You say you don't have a type, maybe not, maybe so. I don't know, but like I said, your ex coming and speaking out, oh, Caitlyn's definitely in the building for you, right? And here's the thing, because now at this point, and I'm gonna tell you, this is really honestly when things started to get a little cross-eyed and weird for me when it came to Mecca and Caitlyn. Because even in that moment, before we proceed with the rest of the episode, they go step outside to talk. And I'm like, for what? What are y'all going outside for? That's weird. And sure enough, thereafter, my thoughts, Demon's chiming in and he's talking to the people closest by, like, what is that about? I think Adam was there and Marissa. And he's like, it looks like they're being a little flirty. And we get camera kind of shots of Mecca and the way he's smiling and gazing at her. I was like, oh, this looks hella suspicious. This doesn't look good at all. What? I feel like too, Caitlyn was more engaged and more connected in the way she was looking at Mecca than we've seen her ever look at Devon. Oh my God. I said, what is going on here? And from there, y'all, everything went downhill. So now we see footage where at a point in that night, it's now Mecca, Bel Jolie, Devon, and Caitlyn, and they are going in. Primarily, Devon and Caitlyn are getting into it with one another because Devon's letting us know he feels some type of way, and Mecca overstepped his boundaries and did. When I tell you Devin said nothing wrong in this moment and was 100% correct, because I feel the same way with all the flirtiness that's going on and the things that have been happening apparently that we didn't know about until we got some footage and made it all make sense as to why Devin was in his feelings. Because then we also get, which was totally inappropriate, footage of not only Mecca doing some type of finger game where he's kissing on her fingers Or I don't even know if it was a game. Whatever it was, it didn't work for me. But literally, Belle is laying in between them as they're doing it. I said, what the is going on here? What? This ain't really happening, y'all. So I'm telling you, disrespectful. What have been our recurring words for this season? Okay, cooked, disrespectful. Uh, yeah. Okay. The point is, it was too much, and it was so out of place. And then him at another scene putting his chain around Caitlyn's neck. Again, I asked for what? Totally inappropriate. Totally inappropriate. So when you put all that together, I can understand this combustible Devon and just upset Devon. Now the only thing I will say that I wasn't with, and I'm glad Bell even tapped him because I would have done the same thing. Like, bring it back on, brother. Come on now, hold on. As when he started getting in Caitlyn's face a little close like this. Because I said, okay, well, that's not a good look because now that can give many things. And I know Devin would probably be quick to say, and maybe it is his character, that he would never put his hands on a woman or anything like that. But you got real heated, bro, that you look like you were losing control. And we don't know what it would have been if it just would have been the two of y'all and no cameras around. And I hope that it wouldn't have been anything like that. But it was just giving too close for comfort. And people can push your buttons, they really can, but then once you start crossing those lines, there's no coming back from that, and there's no excuses no matter how hard they push your buttons. So I just hope that, yeah, he recognizes and realizes that that's not cool. I hope that's a one and done situation, but that's the only thing I wasn't feeling. But then she goes on to tell him to shut the fuck up. And that's why he actually got hyped, because she's just so disrespectful. Y'all, what other word is there to describe her? A just horrible individual. Again, she should not be there at all. And so his frustrations are super valid. Mecca saying they're sitting there on the side looking dumb and stupid, not having much to say. And it was just their behaviors from there to me were not cool. I think there was even one point where later on he's Mecca's walking up the stairs and he's kind of looked down and glances at her almost to be like, oh, I can't wait to console you later. Like, it just, I don't know. I wasn't into it. It was giving those people from that other season who really pissed me off. David and was her name Michelle? I can't even remember. Can't stand them. Couldn't stand them and how they did my boy. But let's move on. We're not gonna get into that. We're gonna wrap this right on up. So Devin and Caitlyn end up talking the next morning, where she's still being dismissive and justifying her bad behavior, never wants to see this man's point for real, never wants to show him grace or understanding or empathy, never. And the main thing I heard out of all of that was Devin saying he's done. Thank you. She ends up pulling another Caitlyn. She starts going in on Devin and making everything his fault. I said, I'm so glad we only got to hear this for the last time. And then again, no, we don't, because there's the reunion where she's going to defend herself heavily. I'm sure of it. He says there's plenty signs of toxicity and he's done. Do me a favor though, Devin. Don't be like Tori. If you're say you done and you tell the person you're done the first time, just be done. Just be done. All right. And we understand, right, that sometimes you could tell somebody you're done and then things happen when you do some work. I ain't talking about them kind of done. I'm talking about done when you should be done for real. Because then when you tell people you're done and then you allow them to come back and then it starts to become a pattern, then they're not going to take you seriously for real. Be done with that. You see it for what it's worth, Devin. You're not a fool. You're hip to the game. It is what it is. She ain't the one. There's someone so much better out there for you. Matter of fact, they sitting in your DMs right now as they've been watching. If you haven't seen it yet, you'll see it by the reunion. You're good. All right. Whew. Y'all, the music is on. The dance floor is lit. Don't be no prude and hold up on the wall. Please hop, do your two-step, your skip, your jump, whatever. Let me know your thoughts on this one, y'all, because this was crazy. Okay. And I am convinced that Mecca is feeling Caitlyn. He's vibing, like the vibes are there. All right. And it's so inappropriate. It's so obvious. I feel like the way that he was just looking at her and gazing at her. And then now seeing his type, like I said, with that ex who decided she wanted to pop out and shouldn't have. And Caitlyn, as much as I can't stand her either, but I think she's a nice looking woman, is also giving much more than what his ex was giving. Oh, he's in there. Oh, he's in there like swimming. He was like, oh, yeah, Caitlyn, like, yes, you are a dime. Trust me, compared to what let me stop. Okay. I shouldn't do that, but it's just my opinion on the matter as to why he would be feeling someone like Caitlyn. And it's just so messed up, so jacked up for so many obvious reasons, right, y'all? But let me know your thoughts. Let me know how y'all feel about the Nikki and Sean of it all. Do you think they really were starting to have something working and good? Even them, I still can't take seriously because they just be too back and forth for me. And I haven't forgotten how she also mentioned that he's been making them little slick comments on the side when the cameras are not around. So, anywho, y'all, I hope this video found you in good spirits. And if not, I hope I said or did something to put a little bit of a smile on your face, sending you all social hugs. And until we meet again, y'all know what to do. Y'all stay up, y'all stay blessed, and I'm out. Peace.